clear water. It's very misleading. It's going to leave us with a false sense of security. The most important thing is we test that water. If we have something to do to our tank and it involves messing with the environment, we test before and after. It's very simple. Your test kit tells you what you as I said, okay, we were talking about you need a test kit, you need 2 biological filters, you need to alternate the cleaning of the filters, you need to take water from your tank to use to clean out your filters. This is the best of a bad lot. You got to condition your tap water. I explained why. Even if your water does not have chlorine in it and it comes from a well, I would still condition it, because most conditioners will alleviate heavy metals, which will be, I can't make a comment on actually our water quality in this country or I'll be shot, but basically heavy metals will not lend to a healthy environment for our fish. Let me see, tap water. If you're replacing tap water into your tank, make the water roughly the same temperature between tap and tank, so you won't lower your internal temperatures too much. Another thing is as well, it might be prudent to test your water the day after you've done your filter maintenance, just to make sure you haven't tipped the balance too much. Because biological filters, as I say, are a living entity. They're unpredictable. There are no sure fast rules. I mean, what you might think worked last week mightn't work this week. Just remember, you probably added new fish in recently, and every time you add a new fish into your tank, you're putting in another source of ammonia. Your fish are flushing ammonia out of their gills constantly. You know what I mean? So if you put a fish into a glass of water and test it a couple of hours later, you're going to see very high ammonia levels. You come back the next day, that fish would be invariably dead. So it's important, if we do particular things like messing with our tank, go back the next day and just a quick test, 5-minute test will actually, it will alleviate any worries. When you go, say for argument's sake, you've set up your tank and you've got a reasonable environment, your temperature is right, you've got your 2 biological filters, you put your additives into your water. Most people, when they actually start up their tank, they should have the basics of a water conditioner, source of bacteria, i.e. stress sign, or as I say, we use a lot of things like safe start. But if you want to go the old route of setting up your tank and leaving it turning over for weeks and weeks and weeks till it eventually gets some kind of biological activity in the system, you could be waiting a long time. It's a very unpredictable way of starting up your tank. I normally say to people, it's the chicken or the egg. You kind of have to start somewhere. So on the basis that I'd be setting up my tank and filling it and getting the water to the right temperature, I wouldn't be afraid to add 1 or 2 fish in at the start just to reduce our waste. Some people use uneaten, fish food and sprinkle it in and let it break down and start the ammonia cycle that way. But I normally like to start with 1 or 2 fish just to keep your interest in the whole thing. But the most important thing is you've set up your tank, you've done your tests, you're happy with your tests. If you're not sure about your tests, bring your test kit and a sample of water to us. We will check it and we will show you what we're doing, and when you leave the shop you will know what you're doing. We're going to show you how to use that test kit. It's very, very simple. Like, on the basis that your tests are fine, selecting your fish is between yourself and staff member. I normally tell people to go through the tanks, see what they like, and if they like a particular fish, we tend to build our hobby around that particular fish. But the most important thing is watch what we're doing. We're floating a bag in a tank. We have the bag rolled down on itself. We are placing the fish in the bag. We are tying up the bag, trapping air. The less water we put in the bag, the better, because we're trapping air and we're forcing it into solution. So we keep the oxygen levels high by having less water mixed with a volume of air. Like, when you take those fish home, the most important thing is to acclimatise them properly. So what you're going to do, you're not just going to float the bag for 20 minutes and let the fish out. That's a crime. A lot of shops that don't know better will probably tell you something like this, but the most important thing is you cannot take sensitive fish species home, float a bag and let them into your different water quality. It